Today's scripture for reflection is found in Daniel 3, verse 15, and it says, Now, if you are ready, at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you will be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? Pop quiz. What was today's word for the day? Place it in the chat right now. What was today's word for the day? Yes, today's word for the day was deliver. And one of the definitions we found for deliver is save, rescue, and set someone or something free from. Now, here in Daniel 3, we find our friends Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in a bit of a pickle. So let me try to summarize the story thus far because this is a whole series of Bible study by itself. So, the King Nebuchadnezzar, had a dream that he saw a statue of himself, but the interpretation of the dream was that he was just the head of gold and he did not like that. Why? Because it meant that he would not go on to reign forever, and that's why he told everybody in his kingdom to bow down and worship the statue as an act of recognition that he will reign forever and they will worship him forever, because he made that same statue that he saw in his dream, but he made it from head to toe completely gold. Now, the everybody's in his kingdom included these three young men who were Hebrews, and they were taken captive when King Nebuchadnezzar overthrew their country and brought them back as slaves to serve in his kingdom. Tracking with me so far? Now, having brought them back to his kingdom, he realized that these three were different from the other Hebrews that he brought back, and so he gave them, prestigious positions in his government. So now, back to the story. So these three young men who should be grateful to the king that he respected them and thus treated them so well that they are now commanded to return this respect by turning their back on their upbringing, their religion, and more significantly, they are being asked to turn their back on their God by doing a simple, seemingly insignificant act of bowing down to this statue, which represented Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah, simple enough. I mean, they had already been operating as Babylonians anyways. Their original names, their original Hebrew names, were long forgotten. Shadrach, who was originally Hananiah, Meshach was Mishael, and Abednego was Azariah. So the instructions were simple. When you hear all the instruments playing, then you should bow down and worship it. The horn, the flute, the harp, the lyre, the psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music was sounded, and everybody knelt down and bowed down to the statue and was worshiping it. Or so the king thought. Then some of the people from the kingdom came to King Nebuchadnezzar and tell him, say, King, is it some of the people them we carry from way back when and set them over the affairs of the province of Babylon? They have not paid any regard for you. And of course, King Nebuchadnezzar get mad and he said, as we would say in Jamaica, them diss him. They disrespected him. They were being disrespectful to the king in his mind because guess what? They refused to bow down and worship this statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So, he said, you know what? Let me ask them. Let me hear it from the horse's mouth. So he asked them, is it true that you didn't bow down as I had commanded you? Of course, this is me paraphrasing. But he didn't even give them a chance to respond. He's like, let me give you a chance. If you're ready, as the text said. If you're ready, I will let them play the music again and then you will bow down. Maybe they were distracted, just maybe. But if you will not bow down, then I will throw you into the fiery furnace. And King Nebuchadnezzar said, "Who is the God who will deliver you from my hands?" No, child, child. I can imagine Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, then yai make six. Not I am so sorry. Let me interpret. They all locked eyes together. Shadrach looking at Meshach, Meshach looking at Shadrach and Abednego. They all looked at each other and I can imagine they just simultaneously thought, "Ooh, Nebuchadnezzar, you do not know who you playing with, eh? You don't know who you playing with. You shouldn't say so." Mm-mm. And in verse 16, we see their response. It says, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, 'O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fire furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king,'" they are being respectful, "'that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up.'" Now you know King Nebuchadnezzar Bringle. He did not like that at all. Of course he got mad and he told the guy, "Listen, heat the furnace 7 times hotter than it usually is. Tie them up and throw them in there with everything they have on." I can imagine. I can imagine the guards. I can imagine the guards look at Nebuchadnezzar like, "Me must go near that furnace that is 7 times hotter? No way, Jose." But they don't want to be the ones to go in there with them. So, of course, they're going to listen to the king. And they tied them up. And I can imagine they stood afar and they got some strength and they literally threw them in there. That's my imagination. No. I can also imagine when they threw them in there, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, they probably drop. And he heard them fall, and probably the whole place went silent, just watching and seeing how short of a time it's gonna take for them to burn. Because, of course, the furnace was 7 times hotter. But while everybody was waiting to see what will happen, it's like oh, oh, wait, what's happening? They're standing up, their hands are free, their coats are not fried. And I can imagine everyone is wondering, like, what kind of technology did these guys come up with? Their clothes are not burnt. But again, I also can imagine King Nebuchadnezzar probably propped himself up on his throne and he's looking and he probably said, wait, didn't, didn't we throw 3 men in the furnace? And the others probably looked and said, "Yes, king, that is true." And then the king probably said, but I see 4 men and they are loose and they are walking in the midst of the fire. They're not hurt. But, oh, the fourth one looks like the Son of God. Nebuchadnezzar shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, come out of the fire. Viennisi, come here." And when they came out, not a scratch. They did not even smell of smoke. King Nebuchadnezzar could only respond and say, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him, and they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies that they should not serve nor worship any God except their own God. Therefore I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut into pieces, and their houses shall be made in an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. Y'all not about to let me start preaching. I am not gonna do it, but this is too sweet, and I know that today's scripture for reflection is a little longer than expected, but bear with me. I promise you will get your shout. You are not going through this trial by yourself. You can be confident that God will deliver. You can even be confident that even if He does not deliver you from this particular circumstance, you can still trust Him. You can still remain steadfast in Him. Do not watch the people looking on. Watch the God who is willing to step into your circumstance with you. Trust the God who will walk through the fire with you. Trust the God who has already begun a good work in you, that He will perform it to the very end. If you are going through health issues, trust God to deliver. Bad breakup, trust God to deliver. Unruly children, trust God to deliver. Infidelity in your marriage, trust God to deliver. Work drama, trust God to deliver. Stress at school, trust God to deliver. Church hurt, trust God to deliver. Financial woes, trust God to deliver. Death of a family member or a friend, trust God to deliver. And even if you just can't find your keys right now, trust God to deliver. He is interested in every single circumstance that you are going through right now. And tonight, if you do not get anything else from this episode, take this and take it to the bank. You can cash it. I said just when things look hopeless, the God of Shadrach, the God of Meshach, the God of Abednego, my God, your God, He will deliver again.